Hello, what's up, dear YouTube viewers? I'm sure many of you had to deal with investing money before or allocating money to different expenses. And many of us had to think before which expenses works more. So in this video, I wanna go over my views on which entertainment expenses or wants is worth more. Now, I'm not really speaking about investment. I'm meaning investment in a literal sense that could bring you money back. I'm speaking about investment in expenses. Once you already have all your needs covered, which ones are worth more and which ones are worth less. In this video, I will go over my opinion. Now, please be aware that this is not a financial literacy course. This is just some kind of guy's opinion. So I'm not saying that if you do what I tell you to do, you will guaranteedly be happy. No, everyone has their own opinion. And you absolutely have the right not to follow some of those advices. And I'm not saying that like this is how you should live your life, but I am hopeful that maybe you can find at least one advice helpful that I give you. If not, it's totally fine. I won't be offended. You have the right to not follow any of those advices. If you find one of those advices helpful, that's great. But if not, no big deal. I'm just going over my opinion. Okay, let's start. So, at number one, the biggest expense I am advocating to invest in is an investment in your health or your education. Now, I know this can sound really nerdy and sound more like an old grumpy guy speaking than a young 20 years old. And I'm not saying that you should allocate all your money to health and education and never give money to entertainment, but I'm saying that you should give at least part of your money to those expenses. Now, many of us like to think that our lives are imminent and that we don't need to invest in health because our organisms will tolerate everything on their own. But trust me, guys, accidents can happen. And sometimes, when you least expect it, something can occur. And I especially know what I'm talking about because I have cerebral palsy. So in the past, I had to invest in my health. Now, investment in health doesn't just have to be doctor checkups. An investment in health can also be an investment in equipment. Let me give you an example. So my doctor suggested for me to walk on the treadmill, for me to walk for at least 1 hour a day. Now the only problem with that is that going outside isn't always convenient because summers in Texas can be really hot sometimes. So I needed to find a way to walk without getting out of my house. So we decided to get a treadmill. And as of right now, this is one of the best investments we ever made. Because I walk on the treadmill almost every single day. Some other family members walk on the treadmill too sometimes. And even our guests who come to our house walk on the treadmill too. So this was truly a good investment. And so any investment in health could be a good idea. Among the same line is also an investment in education. Now, I'm not saying go above and beyond and invest all your money in education, but I am saying find the career that you like and invest as much money as needed to fulfill the minimum requirements for this career. For example, I want to be a lawyer. And I know it's an expensive career, but I'm trying my best to find scholarships, which is something I could make another video about if you wanted to. But that's not the point right now. The point is that it's important to invest in your education. Now, I'm not saying invest in education at all costs, like I said before. For example, with my law degree, I could have tried going to Harvard or Yale if I wanted to. That doesn't mean that I would have gotten accepted, but I could have at least tried. But I didn't, because I understand that a UNT degree can also fulfill the minimum requirement. So I'm not saying invest all your money in education and find the most expensive education, but I am saying do whatever possible to fulfill the minimum requirements for education. Okay, next up is an investment in traveling. Now, traveling can be helpful in a couple of ways. First of all, it can help us understand other people's culture and maybe bring something into our own culture. Now, I'm not advocating for ethnocentrism. I'm not saying completely replace our culture with another culture. But I am advocating for maybe adding some little details to our culture from other cultures that could maybe make us a better human beings. Just as well as I think other cultures could add some details from our culture. And it can make all of us a better human beings. Another way that travel benefits you is that it allows you to have memories that you can store for a long time. An expensive car or house can break soon, but your memory of traveling will not break. Yes, I know, you can also have a memory of driving an expensive car, but a travel memory could last longer because over time you get used to an expensive car and you no longer see the value in it. You see it as something basic in your life. When traveling, unless of course you travel every month or every day, you can see the benefits in it for a long time. And also traveling could allow you to meet maybe people from other cultures and make friends with them for a long time. Okay, third is an investment in house equipment or repairs. Now, of course, I'm not saying don't invest in your house before you invest in traveling. If let's say something is seriously wrong in your house, like let's say your roof is not in place, of course you should immediately fix it before investing in anything else that I advocated for. But I'm saying that like if everything is right in your house and you invested in all other things, you can still make your house better by investing in other ways. For example, getting more expensive furniture in your house, or maybe potentially making repairs in your house. Even if right now everything is good, you could maybe think ahead and replace a wall, for example, or replace something in your house so that you don't have to focus on it when the situation is already critical. You can do it in advance. Now, an expensive furniture in your house could benefit you in a couple of ways. First of all, if guests come to your house, it can help your self-image, which I'm not saying you should try to impress people who don't care about you, but if those are people who you truly think would be worth impressing, for example, a future business partner or maybe someone else who you think it might help if they think positively of you. And expensive furniture can really help because it shows that you truly care about your house. Also, an expensive furniture will be something that you will sit on almost every day, because an expensive car will be something that you don't always drive every day. Yes, people do drive cars every day, but it doesn't necessarily mean expensive cars. Most people just drive everyday family cars on most days and then use expensive cars only for when they are going somewhere where, let's say, only two seats are necessary. Versus the furniture you will use every day. Okay, next up is an investment in food. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in good food at all and that you should just eat the most cheapest food, because an investment in food can count as an investment in health, because what you eat truly determines how long you will live. But I am saying that, even if you already have good food and you have the other entertainment that you listed before, you can still maybe spoil yourself a little and invest in expensive food. For example, in expensive ice cream, or maybe like a food from an expensive bakery. This isn't something that you should try to do every day, but that is something that you should maybe consider doing if all your other entertainments are covered at least once. Because it can truly be a unique experience, like trying a unique brand of food, and it can truly shape, it can truly be something new that you do, and it can change your life perspective a little. Just be careful not to get addicted to expensive food, okay, guys? Okay, next up is an investment in entertainment, like going to a World Cup game, for example, going to a concert, etc. Now, if a World Cup is hosted in your country, if you are a soccer fan, I absolutely think you should go to at least one game if you have the money. Because a World Cup is a once in a lifetime opportunity, maybe twice, but it's not gonna happen every time or every year. For example, in this World Cup, I went to the Norway versus Ivory Coast game and chose the game, and I didn't really regret it, which is something that you can watch on my other channel called Young People About Soccer. Another thing that I would recommend is to maybe invest in other forms of different entertainment, such as going to a concert maybe, or going somewhere else. Because like I said before, experience are really important and it can be a one in a lifetime experience. Right now I have already been to a hockey game, a basketball game, and a FIFA World Cup game. Although hockey and basketball were not professional, really, or no, sorry, basketball was professional, hockey wasn't really professional, it was just a game of my friend playing against another team, but it was still a unique experience. So you should invest in it. Okay, next up is an investment in an expensive car. Yes, I know, I've been hating on expensive cars, but if you got all your other entertainments covered, then I do think that you should try to invest in an expensive car if you truly want it. Now, of course, I'm not saying don't invest in a car at all before all your other entertainments. No. Invest in a car, especially in a country like the USA, where a car is basically necessary. But don't invest in an expensive car unless you got all your basic needs covered and maybe some other more important thing. But if you got all the other things covered, and let's say there was an expensive car that you really wanted to, then yes, you should invest in it. An expensive car can be beneficial in a couple of ways. First of all, it can be a reward to you. If you have done everything right, if you covered all your expenses and you covered some other forms of entertainment that maybe are more important. Again, this is just my opinion. They are more important to me and they don't have to be more important to you. But if you covered other forms of entertainment, then yes, you should try to invest in a car that you like because it can be a reward for you for covering your expenses at like a nice price, saying that like, yay, I achieved what I wanted, I invest my money, now I can truly afford an expensive car. And it can also be a potential asset because you can sell it in the future. Yes, that's how it is useful. So if you got all your other expenses covered, I would recommend investing in an expensive car. But one thing I would caution you against is don't buy the same car that your friend bought just to be like him, or the same car that I don't know, someone else bought. Look into the market of cars and only buy the car if you feel like this is truly the car that you need and this is the right investment for you. So buy it because you truly want it, not because somebody else bought it. Okay, next up is an investment in an expensive house. Now, once again, I am of course not saying don't buy a house at all and live in an apartment. I think that owning a house is something that is useful for everyone, and I understand how bad it is to live in an apartment. So I'm not saying don't buy a house at all, but I am saying don't buy an expensive house. I know it can be a good luxury to have like an expensive house with like say multiple bedrooms or a swimming pool or other things. But I would really caution you against that because an expensive house requires maintenance and a lot of money and a lot of cleaning, and really it doesn't solve any of your practical problems. A house is still a house, and you can still live in a cheap house. Now, for some people, an expensive house with multiple bedrooms can truly be worth it. For example, for those who have 11 kids or something, or for those who live in the same house with three generations, so grandparents, parents, and grandkids, then yes, an expensive house can be worth it because it can be annoying when multiple people are in a small house. But if you have like a basic family of four, let's say, or even less, then I don't think an expensive house is worth it unless you got all your other entertainments covered. Okay, next up is an investment in an expensive cell phone or an expensive watch or something else. Now, once again, like with everything else, I am not saying don't invest in a phone or watch at all. Of course, you need a phone or a watch. Absolutely, you do. But don't invest in an expensive phone. For example, for a long time I wanted an iPhone. And the reason why was because everyone else had it. Yeah, you know little kids' nature. They always want something because everyone else has it. And for a long time I really wanted an iPhone and thought about how to get it. But then when I finally got the money to get it, and when I finally realized that I can get an expensive phone, I thought that like, maybe I don't need an iPhone anymore. Because from what I read, it costs expensive, and many of the apps on there are paid, so I didn't end up getting an iPhone. Because the truth is, an expensive phone can break a lot, and it is one of the most breakable items that people will ever buy. I know some people whose phone breaks every year. Okay, every year was an exaggeration, but you get the point. It breaks often. Anyway, so an expensive phone can very easily break, and the price for repairs are unfortunately expensive. So, I don't think an expensive phone is the best investment you could make. Now, if it has been something that you had been dreaming about, then yes, make it. But don't make it right away just because you feel like everyone else has it and you should have it too. For example, let's continue back onto my story about the iPhone. Like I told you before, I've been dreaming of the iPhone for a long time, and for a long time I had a cheap phone. And then after, I ended up buying a Samsung. I've been dreaming about it since like 7th grade, and then like in my final year of college, I finally ended up buying the phone that I wanted. Now, I'm not complaining, I'm not saying that before that my life was bad, because a phone that I had before could truly serve my purposes, and I was okay with it. In theory, I could have bought another phone before that, but I didn't feel the need to. I feel like it's just a dream and it can wait. Until finally, in my last year of college, I decided that now is the right time and I bought myself a Samsung. But even then, I didn't buy the most expensive phone right away. I picked a Samsung to an iPhone. Okay, next up is an investment in an expensive device, like let's say for example the Dyson hair dryer or an expensive air perfumer or something else. Now once again, like I already told you before, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have those devices at all, because there are some people who truly need to use, say for example, a hair dryer because they have long hair, and even people with short hair do need a hair dryer sometimes. i'm one of those I'm one of those people because I have cerebral palsy and some mobility issues, and the hair dryer is just more comfortable than a towel. I don't use one after every wash, but sometimes I could when it's too cold. That is a topic for another video, but my point is that I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy a hairdryer at all or other devices. But what I am saying is that you shouldn't necessarily buy the most expensive device right away. Because an expensive device can break soon and it can deteriorate and you might not always need it. Now, once again, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy it at all. If you got all your other expenses covered and maybe some entertainments that are more important, you should buy it if you want it. But I'm not saying that like you should buy it right away. Now, for some people, the Dyson hairdryer or another expensive device can truly be something that motivates them. So, like maybe for example, a person purposefully wants to work to save up for an expensive device, like a hairdryer or a fan or an air perfumer. If that's your case, then I'm not trying to discourage you. If that's the only thing that motivates you to maybe go to your job that you might not like it, then sure, why not? But if you don't really want it like a huge amount and you only want it because you think it would be cool to have, then I would not recommend this be the first thing you buy. Now, once again, if you got all your other expenses covered, then yeah, you could buy it. And I know what I'm talking about because, for example, like I said before, I use a hairdryer myself, and I want to buy a more expensive hairdryer right now, but at the same time I feel like I don't really need it because the current hairdryer I have, even though it's kind of old, it still serves my needs well. So right now I'm not buying one. I'm hopeful to find a discount. Same thing goes for other devices. Like for example, I think an air perfumer would definitely be cool, but I don't want to buy it right now because it costs expensive. Maybe in the future I will. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can buy and you can get a device for free. For example, this fan, this fan right here, I won in a lottery. It was at a school lunch project and I got this fan for completely free. And I have used it before. So sometimes you can get as lucky as to get a device for free. And if that's your case, then you should do it. But if it costs expensive and you can't find a discount, I would not recommend buying it. Okay, and finally, last one is an investment in looks and an investment to make yourself look better. Now, I'm not saying don't invest in looks at all. No. Of course, you should invest some money into looks. Like, I think you should have at least one suit so that if you are going somewhere for an important meeting, you should have a good suit and you should maybe have some lotions. But what I'm cautioning you against doing is that like investing a lot of money in looks to try to look like an absolute model when you really don't always need it. Now, if your job is a photo model and that's what you make money off of, then yes, of course you should invest in looks. But even then, you should truly find how you look best and not just invest in looks because that's how other people think you would look better. You should decide for yourself. But if a professional model is not your job, you shouldn't spend all your money to look better. You shouldn't go to a cosmetologist every week. You shouldn't try to maybe get an expensive haircut at a barber shop every time when you could get one for cheaper. Of course, a one-time spoil to yourself could be nice with an expensive haircut, but every time I feel like it's too much. Now, a common misconception that people have is that if they invest a lot in looks and they look beautifully, they will find a, a partner who they think they deserve more than a partner who they think they don't deserve, who they think don't deserve them. But guys, it's a misconception. It's a trend on TikTok that has been going on, and that people are saying that if you invest in looks, you will find a better partner. But it's not always true. And this is especially common among young women who think that, which I'm not trying to say all young women are like that, but some young women do think like that. That if you invest a lot in your looks, you will find a billionaire husband who will just earn money for you and provide for you and do all the household chores while you will just sit there and do nothing. But guys, trust me, it's really not true. And if you don't trust me, read a book called Pride and Bias, I think, by Jane Eyre. It talks about how billionaires only want to marry somebody who is as wealthy as them. And how people try to avoid those who they think is not equal to them. Now at the end, yes, Flavian Darcy did ended up marrying Elizabeth Bennet, but Elizabeth Bennet also wasn't just some kind of random woman. So I really would caution anyone against thinking that if you invest a lot in looks, you could find a partner who would just do everything for you and you would just sit there and do nothing. Because TikTok trends don't always reflect real life. Beauty is cool, but you can't eat beauty. No matter how beautiful you are, many partners look for other criteria, such as what's your major, do you have any common interest with that person? Most importantly, at least for me, the most important criteria in a future partner is how they treat me. Now, I'm not saying that beauty is not important at all in a relationship. Of course, beauty does play a role. So you should try to maybe make yourself look better. If you feel like all your clothes are old and you haven't changed clothes in 5 years or more, and especially if you are looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend, then yes, maybe you should consider buying more clothes. And I'm also looking for a girlfriend right now, and I'm also considering investing in some clothes. But once again, what I'm trying to caution you against is that try to focus on your beauty at all costs and not focusing on other expenses and not focusing on other parts of yourself. Because many times people can be beautiful, but future partners look at other criteria. Now, is it possible to like the young girls are saying, to find like a billion young women are saying, some of them, again, I'm not saying that's all of them, of course, but I know it's a trend on TikTok. So is it possible like that? In theory, yes, but the chance of it are only like 1%, or maybe even less than that. So for those people who think that like finding a billionaire partner who would do everything for them is the whole plan of their life, I would really not recommend it. Sorry, that has gotten more from investment video to relationship video, but you get the point. So once again, I'm not saying that like you shouldn't invest in your looks at all, but don't like overdo it. Don't like invest too much in it. Now, sometimes even married people invest in looks because. Oh, and by the way, one last thing I want to bring up about it is that I know many people could say that like the book I'm referring to by Jane Eyre is just a book. But guys, trust me, I have heard of stories where in real life people were also wanting to do the same thing. So, yeah. So I wouldn't say that like if you invest all your money into looks, you can find a partner who will do everything for you while you just sit around and do nothing. Now another reason is that many people try to invest in looks, and even people who are already married, because they think it will prevent the coming of age. But guys, let me tell you, coming of age is inevitable, and you attempting to hide from it will only cost you money and maybe prevent it just for some time, but eventually it will still catch up to you. Yes, once again, I know it might sound as if I'm speaking like a nerd or an older grumpy guy, and maybe you can say that I'm still young, and this is why I don't understand the reality and how sad it can feel when age is coming. Maybe I will change my opinion, who knows? But right now, this is what I think. That coming of age is inevitable. Now, once again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in looking better at all. But what I'm saying is that you shouldn't like spend all your money on beauty procedures in hopes of preventing the coming of age when forgetting about other more important expenses. So like maybe you should, like I said before, try to get yourself maybe new clothes or something like that. But or maybe treat yourself a little, but no treatment can prevent the coming of age for a long time. Okay, there you have it, guys. Once again, I'm not saying that like this will guaranteeingly make you happier, and this path will lead to the best outcome. I'm just saying that this is my opinion. And even my opinion can change over time due to new facts. But this is just what I think and I wanted to share with you. I hope that even if you don't agree with everything I said here, you at least found some insights helpful. Okay, bye guys. If you like this video, give it a thumb up. If you dislike it, give it a thumb down. Subscribe to my channel, leave comments. Hope you have a good day. Bye guys.